Hello, and thank you for joining us on France 24. It's time for us to cast our collective eye on Africa. First up, the headlines. At least 200 people have been killed in a coltan mine collapse in the east of the DRC. According to the Congolese authorities, the collapse happened on Tuesday due to a landslide at the Rubaya mines, which are under M23 control. The rebel group disputes the figures. Unhappy with the appointment of a woman as the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Nigerian Conservative Anglican Bishop Group announces the creation of its own body to lead the Anglican faith and names Rwandan Archbishop Laurent Banda to lead them. And just 12 days until kickoff, the Confederation of African Football postpones the Women's Africa Cup of Nations until the summer, throwing the women's football calendar into disarray. We'll be talking about this in depth with our guest, Chief Suo Chappelle, Nigerian sports journalist and football commentator. Welcome to the program. The Congolese authorities say over 200 people have been killed in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo following the collapse of a major coltan mine due to a landslide. According to the Congolese Ministry of Mines, the collapse took place at the Rubaya mines, which are controlled by the M23 rebel group. A senior official of the rebel outfit has disputed the figures. Our correspondent, Emmett Livingston, in Kinshasa, has more.
A landslide in an important coltan mining complex in eastern Congo on Tuesday has left a huge number of people dead, according to the government. On Wednesday, Congo's mines ministry stated that over 200 people were killed after heavy rains triggered a landslide in Rubaya in an area of North Kivu province controlled by M23 rebels. 70 of those were children, the ministry said. But the precise details of what happened aren't clear. We weren't able to verify the figure put forward by the government, and the M23 hasn't yet officially communicated. Neither did it respond to a request for comment. Miners in Rubaya do work in very precarious conditions, however. In January, hundreds of miners were killed after a similar landslide. Congo is a major supplier of coltan, a key component in the production of smartphones, computers, and jet engines. And Rubaya is strategically significant. The complex of mines, which the M23 has controlled since 2024, produces 15% of the world's coltan. The mines are also lucrative. The UN estimates that the M23 makes millions of dollars a year in taxing mining activity in Rubaya.
It's been a little over a month since Dame Sarah Mullally was confirmed as the Archbishop of Canterbury, thus becoming the first woman to lead the Church of England, an appointment which has drawn criticism from some. In Nigeria, the Conservative Anglican Bishop Group, WAFCON, announced the creation of a new body to lead the Anglican Church after opposing her appointment. They also named Rwandan Archbishop Laurent Banda to lead them. Laurent Berstecher has the story.
My dear sister in Christ.
October 2025, Sarah Mullally's nomination as Archbishop of Canterbury was hailed as a step forward and a sign the Anglican Church was living with the times. But not everyone was happy with the decision. In Nigeria, a group of conservative clergymen has just nominated its own archbishop, the Rwandan Laurent Banda, directly challenging the authority of the church.
To move past old structures, we must leave behind old titles as well. I'm also pleased to announce that Archbishop Laurent Banda was unanimously elected as chairman of the Global Anglican Council.
The Global Anglican Future Conference, or GAFCON, was created in 2008 in opposition to the liberal policies of the Anglican Church. Led by bishops from several African, Asian, and Latin American countries, it promotes a more conservative interpretation of scriptures, but until recently, it still recognized the Church of England's authority. It now appears to have fully split from the so-called Mother Church and announced the creation of its own rival council on Thursday.
We would avoid and recommend avoid treating GAFCON simply as a small splinter or rebel group. Keep in mind, it represents the vast majority now of Anglicans around the world. Logically, it doesn't make sense that 20 people in the UK with very little input from the global south could actually decide who the global leader of the Anglican Church is.
With over 18 million followers, Nigeria holds the second largest Anglican community in the world after the UK.
The president of the Central African Republic, Faustin Archange Touadéra, was in Russia on Thursday to discuss security cooperation between Bangui and Moscow. In a speech, he thanked his Russian counterpart, President Vladimir Putin, for Russia's security presence during the election in December and called for a strengthening of strategic partnerships in several sectors, including energy.
The Russian Federation contributed a lot to the success of these elections. It made it possible in terms of security, thanks to the interventions of Russian instructors who, with their brothers from the Central African Armed Forces, created the favorable conditions for these elections to be held properly.
After weeks of uncertainty surrounding the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, the Confederation of African Football finally confirmed on Thursday that the tournament is instead postponed, moving from March 17th to July 25th. In a statement, the CAF reiterated its commitment to women's football, but did not give a reason for the move, only referring to certain unforeseen circumstances. The announcement, which comes just 12 days before the originally scheduled kickoff, has prompted outrage from teams and fans alike. To discuss this further, I am joined by Nigerian sports journalist and football commentator Chief Suo Chappelle. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Chief Suo. You were meant to head to Morocco to cover this tournament. Did you get the sense that the tournament was not going to go ahead as planned?
Oh, yes. Yes, great to be here. Good evening over there. And this is quite unfortunate. We were all supposed to be packing our bags and leaving this week, those of us that were supposed to be covering content just before the tournament kicked off. And, surprisingly enough, from the journalist end, we had not gotten our accreditation, which was pretty weird. The CAF standard from within 2 months to 6 weeks before the tournament, accreditation started coming out, and we were asking questions. Unfortunately, they were playing a bit of whack-a-mole and they were just dancing around the table. It had to take more federations coming out and declaring from what they could see that the Federation of CAF was not serious about hosting anyway before they came out with this statement. And it is weird to see that the main conversation is unforeseen circumstances. And it's weird because it was just in November last year, 2025, that, the hosting right was confirmed by Morocco. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a conversation from the South African Deputy Minister in Sports, who alluded to the fact that South Africa was ready to host. And even just yesterday, videos circulated on the net from the South African Minister of Sports, Mr. Mackenzie, who insisted that this delay on the part of the Moroccans was a way to spoil the legacy of the CAF president, who happens to be a South African. And he also reiterated the fact that they were ready to host and they had, the positions and the stadiums to do this. It's going to take us another 142 days, and it's going to spoil the momentum that we've all had across the continent with back-to-back continental football. The Moroccans will say that it's an overclocked domestic league like the Botola and the Chan and the AFCON that has made them unable to shoulder more responsibilities. But you see, they had opportunity to drop the baton as early as possible. But instead, we are here. And when I say yeah, it means that now countries have to find a way to make a way. It's just a few days after the World Cup for the men. Then we start the WAFCON. And then just a few days after the WAFCON, a lot of these players who are represented at the WAFCON are supposed to take the trip and fly to Scotland for the Commonwealth, which is crazy. So it's going to be a scheduling nightmare. I don't think it was well thought out. I think this was just an unnecessary posturing. Already, players are coming out to air their views. It's sad to see that this is where we are in women's football. The other day, we were having the COVID and the men's AFCON was postponed and the women's one was totally cancelled. We have legends from Nigeria complaining, Desire Paranozi saying that this is a move that makes the progress in women's sports, women's football on the continent 10 steps backward. We have players from Roma, players like Rinsola Babajide already going online this evening and airing out our frustration. You have federations in Eastern Africa, like the Kenyans, who are already talking about the losses they are already incurring for having to cancel all plans to send their team to France for their last set of preparation stages before they get into the tournament. Nobody's going to talk about the loss cost or the funds that has been wasted bringing these teams over, getting them geared and ready for a tournament that was supposed to be 12 days away. It is quite a shame, and it's a show of shame. I believe that even as recent as yesterday, the Minister for Commerce from Morocco was still reiterating that they were going to host. So this beggars belief that you have people who are in the seats of power, you know what you are doing, and still you look at women's sports and you look at it in the month of women as something that you can play politics with. It's quite unfortunate, especially almost every country in Africa has a star player that is playing in a league, whether it's in Australia, in Asia, in North America, South America, and of course in Europe. And they are all bossing it, and they're all ready to show how good they are. So it's quite sad because, like I said, stalled momentum, and it's quite a shame.
Yeah, and well, women's football has been gaining popularity over the years, and as you just mentioned, a lot of each African team has a star player. And overall, where do we stand with African women's football as a result of this change?
As a result of this change, it means that the ladies do not have the best opportunity to showcase with the ease that they ought to. Not all teams have not been preparing properly. Some of them have taken time. They've done the campings. Tanzania is one of those. Kenya is one of those. We have girls from Malawi already coming through. So where it leaves us, it leaves the onus again back on the women. They never get the right infrastructure and processes in their favor. They barely manage to get 1 million as the cash prize for the winner of the tournament, as opposed to, is it 10 to 12 million for the men? And now it leaves us in a space where you have to bring your best work out in such a little bit of time. A little bit of time, but I have the assurance that the quality across the continent will rise. Already within a short bit of time, we've already started seeing new powerhouses. And we just concluded Kusafa. Namibia was beating Malawi. Malawi was beating South Africa. And already we are seeing Cameroon going toe-to-toe with Nigeria. We're seeing new storylines coming out and new powerhouses in football. And the old names are beginning to rise again. Already we are seeing timelines of this will be no matter the time they play, because they must play it. We have the World Cup next year, and Africa has 4 tickets assured and 2 that they have to play or qualify for the playoffs, for the intercontinental playoffs. So they don't have a choice. They have to show performance because they'll be playing against the best women in the world. And when you have individual African players already bossing it in different leagues, they are keen to use their national team to show that they have come of age. So this is where we are.
Thank you very much, Chief Suo Chappelle, Nigerian journalist and sports commentator. And that's all from us for the moment. Stay tuned to France 24. More news still to come.